You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning. It's July the 24th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Education, your psychedelic and cannabis educational news source. Good morning, Glenn. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Al. How are you?
Tired.
I heard you had a long weekend.
I am tired. Spent some time the whole weekend actually down at the Indigenous Cannabis Cup down in Tayanaga. By Smoke Signals, and had a great time.
And how many vendors were there this year?
You know what? I never even counted them. Tell you the truth,
Is it
but
bigger?
I can tell you that there was more than last year.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So, there was more than last year. There's no doubt about that. I can say that we had a great time talking with a lot of people. People that you would meet on Facebook, we created new friends. Green Irene and I were down there. We were down there for CBG TV. We had a booth, and we did some broadcasting from the location. We did run into some issues. We got some footage in. We got some short footage. We got some hour and a half footage in here and there. And then there was some footage only like 20 minutes. And then if you take your phone and you put it out on your deck or leave it on your picnic table, what happens to it when it's in the sun?
It gets a little bit hot.
Yeah. Sure enough, when you walk around out in an open field in the sun with your phone on a selfie stick, you can run into issues.
Yeah.
We ran into that issue, but what we did is we still went around. We talked to all the vendors, handed out our cards, told everybody about CBG. Lost Glenn. You're back. All right. We told everybody about CBG and what we were doing, and took some pictures and did some short videos, just on the phones, and we'll go from there.
And I heard you suffered from some rain on Friday.
Yeah, it did rain on Friday. There was some bit of a wind and stuff. We had a shelter, as far as we had like a sun shelter, and then we wrapped it in tarp, put a tarp around it, and that kept us dry. Sure, there was a few spots where it leaked, but overall, yeah, we stayed dry. And then Saturday and Sunday, it was just scorching, hot down there. Bit of a breeze. Yeah, but it was hot. So, but it was good. We had a great time.
Welcome to Canada, where you have to dress for 2 days every day. You have to dress for 2 seasons every day.
Yeah. So what? I'm gonna play a little bit of footage of a video that I created just to show a bit of a idea of what some people were doing while they were there, what they were there doing, I guess. All right. So here we go. I'm gonna load her up.
All right, go.
All right. Oh, I'm gonna have to replay this. People. I hit the wrong button on the screen here. They're not going right.
There we go.
Yeah, I pulled that out of there. I'm gonna stop that.
We got a couple of seconds, and it sounded like they were having fun.
Yeah, and you know what? I keep hearing it, and I'm thinking to myself, how come it's not stopping? Right? And I figured out why.
What?
That's fine. It happens. It's playing on a different tab. That's why. All right, here we go again. There, it's not playing for you guys. There we go.
There we go.
You keep taking my air out of my lungs. You're stealing my tab.
Keep one if you want. There's one there. You're not showing the picture. It's coming off.
Lots left, guys. Lots left. Wrap it out. All right, thanks, guys. All right, go. There we go.
Look
Yeah.
like fun.
Too many buttons on the go. We get the idea of what was going on there. We had the sublimator just located down 2 booths down from us. Always a busy spot, as well as Tribal Gardens, who was right beside us. That was
Now,
the first
what
time
was-
they had ever. Go ahead.
What was that you guys were smoking out of?
That was the sublimator.
Subliminator. Okay.
Subliminator. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's a great vaporizer. A lot of people enjoy them, and as you can see there, there was 5 or 6 people enjoying just one tote together. And I don't know if you heard me there. I said, stop stealing my dabs, because you could feel the air being pulled out of your lungs. Yeah.
That's wild. That's other people, eh? Wow.
Yes. Yeah. You could feel the draw, or you were drawing, and there was just as if there was a resistance, and then somebody would stop, and all of a sudden, you got
yeah. Wow.
It's quite the device. A lot of people enjoy them, but overall, though, for the ICC, like I said, we had a good time. Got to meet a lot of people, connect with a lot of people. Got to see Dr. Buck while we were there. He got his kettle corn going on, and there was food there, beverages there. People were walking around, like as far as like some of the vendors were walking around and giving out. There was one place that had beverages, so they had little cups, right, and then so you could sample.
Yeah.
Yeah, joints.
Awesome.
There was one company that gave us joints, and they were infused. So Irene and I smoked, and holy smokes, boys, that's this. It had some good taste in the beginning, but it sort of leveled out. But in the end, we got good buzz off it. And then the guy beside us says, "Hey, did you guys get some of those joints from those people?" And we said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, we had 2 of them because there was 2 of them in the booth, and we smoked both of them, and we shouldn't have."
Oh, nice. Well, that's a good endorsement.
Yes, exactly.
And what about entertainment?
Entertainment, yes, bands, some music. Some of it was bands, some of it was solo. I didn't see everybody. There was an East Coast band that was there. Kush, they were called. Okay, here you go.
Wanna be like you. Come on now. Who do you think you are?
That's cool.
Yeah, he did Bob Marley and a bunch of other artists, and he did a really nice job. I really enjoyed listening to him, as well as the boys down from the East Coast. They were rappers, but they all have a message, and there was good stuff going on.
I kind of like that reggae vibe, you know?
Yeah. And the closing act was the Practically Hip.
Okay.
Yeah, by then, unfortunately, we had left because they were the last act, and it went on till 10 o'clock.
Nice.
As far as we weren't going to drive home Sunday at 11:30 at night, so time you tear down and everything. So it takes time.
Yeah.
But it was good. We like I said, got to meet a lot of people, got some swag, lots of swag came home with. So
Sounds like a good weekend.
it was. We're going to put something together and let you know when it's out there. So
Awesome.
all right, on to some news, into some news stories after we've gone from the Indigenous Cannabis Cup. And that was the 6th annual, by the way. So there'll be another one next year.
And it's getting bigger.
One last thing. There was a SERP, something they called it. And it was a great big amphibious vehicle. And the tires on it were equal to my eyes tall. There was no suspension on this thing. And it could load up, I know, probably half a dozen people in it. And it was just massive tires. And he took them for a ride down to the Bay of Quinte and took them out into the water. The thing would actually float.
I would love to try that.
So, yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, same here. But I was supposed to. We had talked about going in and doing it, but the heat situation and stuff, phones. So, but maybe next year. So
yeah.
On to the next. Let's go on to a story here, and this one's going to come to us from StratCan, and it says the headline says team fighting Manitoba's home grow ban are back in court in September.
The group challenging Manitoba's ban on homegrown cannabis will head back to court in September to make new arguments for why the provincial ban is unconstitutional. Jason Lavoie, who's been leading the charge against the provincial ban through his organization, Toba Grown, says he and his legal team are filing a brief on July 21st with a scheduled court date of Friday, September 8th.
Yeah, so that would be, I wonder how they did, because that was last Friday. So I wonder how that made out. Lavoie and his two lawyers, Kirk Trusaw and Jack Lloyd, bang, perfect guys there to be involved in this, will be arguing that the recent Supreme Court ruling that upheld Quebec's ban on growing cannabis home does not create a precedent to be followed in Manitoba. While Quebec's law banning homegrown cannabis is based on civil fines, Manitoba's is based on criminal penalty, something Trusaw says is not in the purview of the provincial government.
Okay. Quebec and Manitoba were the only two provinces to challenge the authority banning home growing entirely, as did the territory of Nunavut. While Quebec rules implement fines for those found growing cannabis, Manitoba's ban creates criminal penalties and a $2,542 fine for growing non-medical cannabis in a residence in Manitoba. The province's ban does not extend to those authorized to grow cannabis for medical purposes who have been protected by federal court.
Yeah. Trusaw says the argument being advanced this September in Manitoba is that the decision of the Supreme Court of Canada in the Murray Hall case is not binding authority. This is because the decision was based on Quebec's very specific provincial legislative scheme, which includes the creation of a state monopoly, and which does not, unlike Manitoba, penalize home growing with the potential of up to a $100,000 fine and 1 year in prison. We say that Manitoba has improperly exercised the criminal law power in a way that is quite different from what Quebec did. And I'll tell you, Glenn, by the sounds of it, you agree, and so do I.
Yeah,
like $100,000 fine, 1 year in prison. That is doing something that a majority of Canadians can do, and that's to grow cannabis.
Yeah, and even the $2,500 originally talked about is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. This is a goddamn plant that's legal.
Exactly.
Ultimately, issues like this are best resolved in the legislature. so long as the legislature does not overstep its constitutional bounds, he continues. Irrespective of the outcome of the court case, it would be best for the citizens of Manitoba if the legislature simply allowed Manitobans to grow their 4 plants like every other province except Quebec does. In the Quebec case, the provincial government had successfully argued in a lower court that they had the right to ban growing cannabis at home entirely, and were doing so to protect young people. Bullshit. Sorry. The Supreme Court then dismissed an appeal of that ruling, concluding that the provincial government ban on growing cannabis at home was not in conflict with the federal law allowing Canadians to grow up to 4 plants at home.
I feel sorry
It's
for the
nothing
people
to
who
do
do.
with protecting the young people. Nothing at all.
No, exactly. Federal regulations allow Canadians to grow up to 4 plants. As we know, provinces are allowed to place restrictions on that allowance, such as limiting the number of plants or requiring them to be grown in a secure area or out of public view. Like in BC, you can't grow them on your balcony if you lived in an apartment.
I don't see why. Can you sit on your balcony and have a beer? If you can, you should be able to grow a pot plant there. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In developing the Cannabis Act and regulations, the federal government argued that limiting the number of cannabis plants to 0 or banning them outright would be out of the scope of their powers.
And this is similar to the federal age limit of 18 for access to alcohol, where provinces can raise this amount. All provinces and territories in Canada, except Alberta and Quebec, have established 19 as the age of access for cannabis. Alberta's is 18 and Quebec's is 21. Lavoie, who launched his challenge of provincial law in 2020, says he's frustrated that the current government continues to maintain the ban on Manitobans' ability to grow a few cannabis plants at home.
Yes, Lavoie goes on to say the lawsuit has been going on for 3 years now, and it's very disappointing to witness our opponents, the elected government, pushing for a lazy victory with a lack of their own evidence, despite Quebec's ruling being based on protecting a cannabis monopoly. That doesn't exist in Manitoba. Our opponents' lead argument has been, we can because Quebec can. Our legal team has spent countless hours preparing for the September 8th legal showdown, and I'm confident that we will prevail in this case. And of course, we'll be watching that.
And I don't even think that a provincial government should have a monopoly on anything.
Well, we do here in Ontario for our distribution. That's why it's one of the largest and profitable businesses in Canada.
Yeah, and that's why I think they're just stealing money from Ontario citizens. That's what's happening. Yeah. Jack Lloyd, another lawyer working for Toba Grown on the case, who also worked on the challenge in Quebec, filed in January. Murray Hall agrees that the Quebec case does not, in his estimation, provide cover for Manitoba's ban. The situation is significantly different in Manitoba, which means that in our view, Manitoba's legislation cannot escape judiciary scrutiny on the back of the SCC's ruling in Murray Hall.
Yeah. The Manitoba government will have until August 18th to file their response. The two groups are scheduled to meet in court on September the 8th. Toba Grown says it has received permits to have over 1,000 people on the front steps of the Manitoba Legislative Building from 8:30 to 9:30 on September the 8th before the team heads to court at 10 a.m. All right, people, September the 8th. You have to show up at the Manitoba Legislative Building, and they want 1,000 people there.
I hope they get them. I hope they get more.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay, I'm going to make a little note. I just want to make a little note about that. September the 8th. Okay.
I absolutely love how they always say it's to protect the children.
Yeah. From what?
From everything. We're just going to bubble wrap them. That's it. Done. Over.
All right. On to the next story. And this one is just blows my mind. This comes to us from CBC. You can read the headline right there, people. Aurora Cannabis CEO gets a $6.7 million compensation bump amid falling stock and cost cutting. How do you get $6.7 million for a company that's going under. Or at least it's going in that
Yeah,
direction.
and not only just this company, we hear this story over and over again. Failing companies, but the management, the big wigs, the owners, they all get a beautiful bailout. Aurora Cannabis in Campbellford.
Just a second. It says here, his compensation increased by 38%. Who gets a 38% increase?
When you're losing, you know.
Yeah, you just get fired.
We read stories almost weekly about Aurora and how they're doing so badly, and now to read this story that they're rewarding the people at the top for doing so badly is insanity.
Yeah.
Anyway, Aurora Cannabis Incorporated's chief executive saw his annual compensation climb around 38% to $6.7 million in the company's latest fiscal year, as its stock dramatically fell and it aggressively cut costs, which means people. Financial filings from the Edmonton-based cannabis company show Miguel Martin earned a base salary of about $590,500, about $3.8 million in share-based options, and almost $1.1 million in options-based awards. Wow.
Rounding out his earnings was about $815,000 in non-equity incentive plan compensation and $416,000 in other compensation. In comparison, he made more than $4.8 million in compensation in Aurora's 2022 fiscal year and about $4.4 million in 2021.
Martin's compensation boost came as Aurora's share price fell by 52% over its 2023 fiscal year, which spanned 3 quarters because the company changed its fiscal year end. And I'm sure they changed the fiscal year end so that 52% wasn't worse. Yeah, the cannabis industry has been hampered by a lack of demand, strict regulations, and the strength of the illicit market for much of Martin's time as chief executive. To cope, Aurora embarked on a transformation plan that delivered at least $400 million in savings over the last 3 years.
Just to pay employees.
They're paying them to cut people. That's what they're doing.
Despite this, the industry has been marked by layoffs in the past year at Aurora Cannabis and Calgary-based SNDL. In 2022, Aurora Cannabis said it was cutting at least 12% of its workforce and shutting down a facility in Edmonton. Atlas Global announced in June it was laying off around 50 workers and shutting down a cannabis facility in the hamlet of Gunn, Alberta.
SNDL, formerly Sundial Growers, announced in February it was cutting 85 jobs from the facility in Olds. Michelle Letter, Aurora's Vice President of Communications and Public Relations, said the company uses a pay-for-performance approach, and most of Martin's compensation is linked to Aurora's share price and corporate performance metrics, which were either met or exceeded. How can corporate performance metrics be met or exceeded when you're losing 52% of your stock price? That is completely back asswards.
Oh, wow.
That's what their performance metrics are. I would love to work for this company. I'll just stay home. My performance metrics would be great, right through the roof. Jeez.
Oh, I know. It's just crazy.
That's what's wrong with Aurora, right there in that one sentence right there.
All right, on to the next story. This one comes to us from City News. It says that Toronto mushroom dispensaries remain open despite being illegal.
There's a couple of really nice pictures there. Fun Guys Magic Mushroom Store. A large number of Magic Mushroom stores opening throughout Toronto may continue that way as Toronto police deal with other priorities, and the city says it has no jurisdiction. The shops can be seen sprouting up along the city's main streets with bright colored signs and branding with catchy names like Fun Guys, Shroomies. Each sells a variety of products with psilocybin, an illegal substance in Canada, but remain open to the public with regular customers.
Yeah. We literally don't have a tool as a city around this, according to City Councilor Gord Perks. That's what he tells City News. This is a criminal code violation, and it's the police that handle that. Parks emphasized there are a few select types of businesses that the city issues licenses for, including restaurants and bars, for public health reasons. If an area is zoned for retail and an agreement is in place with the landlord to have a store in place, he said the city has no means of shutting it down.
If you're running a comic book store, we don't issue a business license for a comic book store to set up your comic book store. There's no category for this, he said. Over the last couple of weeks, mushroom stores have been raided by police in both Montreal and Hamilton and closed with charges laid in each case. Soon after, an illegal dispensary opened in Montreal on July 11th. Police moved in and confiscated all the products. 4 arrests were made, including 2 women charged with trafficking and illegal substance.
On July the 6th, Hamilton police executed search warrants to 2 separate storefront businesses, resulting in over $70,000 worth of psilocybin products being confiscated and 2 people being arrested. A spokesman for the Toronto Police, meanwhile, has told City News that illegal dispensaries are investigated when reports are made. The service's drug enforcement at this time, however, is largely focused on the trafficking of illegal drugs that are resulting in overdose deaths. Perfect. It cites the need to concentrate on the supply of fentanyl in the midst of an opioid crisis.
Toronto police raided a magic mushroom shop back in 2022, in which 2 people were arrested, and dried psilocybin and psilocybin-derived edibles were allegedly seized. Many cannabis retailers began to open storefront locations before cannabis was legalized and regulated in Ontario, but there are no signs that laws surrounding psilocybin will change anytime soon. A statement from the Toronto Municipal Licensing and Standards Division states the powers granted to the city under Ontario's Cannabis Control Act, such as issuing closure orders and barring entry onto premises, do not apply to stores selling psilocybin mushrooms. Wow.
Yeah, now Perks finishes off by saying, I think the federal government has to make up their mind how they want to treat these drugs. In the meantime, it's a violation of the criminal code. That's a police matter.
Yeah, that's a police matter. I wish they would just legalize it and get it over with.
Yeah, it'd be nice. A lot, especially for a lot of patients out there.
We know it's going to go that way, at least medicinally. So, and I'm sure the federal government already knows that.
Yeah. All right, get to the last story here before we go to break. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, this will be the last one. Here we go. MJ Biz Daily says that cannabis brand cookies sued by another investor group.
More cookies investors have sued the cannabis industry darling, claiming the prominent California-based cannabis brand mismanaged their $15.5 million through multi-million-dollar kickbacks and other self-dealing that benefited company founders at investors' expense, court documents filed this week's show. But what could be more troubling sign for cookies, as well as the struggling cannabis industry? Cookies allegedly ran out of money last summer when it missed the key valuation and then burned through most of an additional $23 million raised earlier this year.
A cookie spokesperson declined to comment to MJ Biz Daily, although in a court filing Friday, the company's president rejected many of the new lawsuit's allegations. These latest claims, filed along with a request for a judge's intervention in company business on Thursday in Los Angeles County Superior Court, minor separation allegations against cookies made in 2 other legal matters filed earlier this year.
In those matters, one of which was settled and another that's still pending, other cookies partners and investors also claimed that company executives, including CEO and public face Gilbert Millen Jr., better known as Berner, diverted cookies investor cash into personally owned side companies. But the case goes further. The investors, Wilder Ramsey and Tom Lindvoits of Red Tech Holdings and Groin Ventures Fund, claimed cookies burned through cash and ran out of money after wildly missing its numbers last summer and failing to support a $275 million valuation, according to Thursday's filings.
Yes, this spring, as lawsuits piled up, Cookie spent most of a separate $23 million raised this spring with Dallas-based Entourage Effect Capital, and is currently trying to raise even more money, according to the investors. Red Tech invested $10 million in Cookies in 2019, and Grown Ventures invested $5.5 million in 2020, according to the filings.
According to Cookie's response, the entities are affiliated with tech billionaire Vinnie Smith, who is not named in the plaintiff filings. The investors filed for arbitration against Cookies in December 2022, according to the filings.
Cookies filed a counterclaim in April of 2023. That matter is still pending. The investors asked the judge in the filing on Thursday to impose a restraining order to stop company executives from continuing to run Cookies into the ground while the arbitration claims are settled.
Basically, they want him to remove the whole board.
Yeah. It sounds like there's got to be some major changes going on there.
Definitely.
People burning through money that they don't have. All right, Glenn. What do you say? Time for us to take a break? Sounds
good to me.
All right, Glenn, I'll be right back after our medical session. You're watching Pace News or People Advocate, Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News here on the Pace Radio Network and CBGTV.com.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com. CBGTV, broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor? If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
Pace Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection! We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyndonega.
We have two lines of drinks. One is called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with, and then we also have a line under the Red E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And we're back. We're live. And we've got you some more stories here at the Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. And what do you say, Glenn? Shall we get at it?
Sure. Let's start.
All right. First up, cannabis use is linked to epigenetic changes scientists discover.
Using cannabis may cause changes in the human body's epigenome. A study of over 1,000 adults suggests the epigenome functions like a set of switches, activating or deactivating genes to change how our bodies function. We observed associations between cumulative cannabis use and multiple epigenetic markers across time, says Lu Fang Ho, a preventative medical doctor and epidemiologist from Northwestern University, Feinberg School of Medicine.
Cannabis is a commonly used substance in the United States, with 49% of the people trying at least once. Ho and a team of U.S. researchers report in their published paper, some U.S. states and other countries have made it legal, but we still don't understand its effects on our health. The researchers studied about 1,000 adults who had participated in a long-term previous study where they had been asked about their cannabis use over a 20-year period. Study participants provided blood samples on 2 occasions during that time at the 15 and 20-year points. They were aged between 18 and 30 at the baseline or year 0.
Using these blood samples from 5 years apart, Ho and her team looked at the epigenetic changes, specifically DNA methylation levels of people who had used cannabis recently or for a long time. The addition or removal of methyl groups from the DNA is one of the most studied epigenetic modifications. Without changing the genomic sequence, it changes the activity of genes because it's harder for cells to read the genome instruction manual and these molecular changes in their way.
Environmental and lifestyle factors can trigger these methylation changes, which can be passed onto future generations, and blood biomarkers can provide information about both recent and historical exposures. Ho says that we previously identified associations between marijuana use and the aging process as captured through the DNA methylation.
I'm sorry, Al, I've lost this whole story here.
Did you really? Okay. I'll continue on. He says that we wanted to further explore whether specific epigenetic factors were associated with cannabis and whether these factors are related to health outcomes. The comprehensive data on the participants' cannabis use allowed them to estimate cumulative use over time, as well as recent use, and compare it with the DNA markers in their blood for analysis. They found that numerous DNA markers in the 15-year blood samples, 22 that were associated with recent use, 31 associated with cumulative cannabis use. In the samples taken at the 20-year point, they identified 132 markers and linked to a recent use, and 16 linked to a cumulative use. So things do change, they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, now what I'm curious is they say that these multiple changes associated with cannabis use have previously been linked to cellular proliferation, hormones, signaling, infections, neurological disorders like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and substance use disorder. Well, I guess mine's not changing.
Yeah. Okay, I got it back.
Did you? Okay. All right.
I did.
Well, we're done.
We're done that one?
We're done now. We're just, gone far enough. All right. What do you say on the next one? Of course.
Sounds good.
And this one here, we're getting through. It's a Monday. I'm tired, man. Like I said, I almost slept right through. Right, I got up a little late this morning. Let's just say. All right, here we go. Next story from the marijuana moment. Minneapolis mayor issues executive order making psychedelics the city's lowest law enforcement priority.
The mayor of Minneapolis has issued an executive order making the criminalization of and possession, use, and cultivation of psychedelics the city's lowest law enforcement priority, generally preventing local resources from being used to aid federal and state actions against the substances. The chief of police says he stands with the mayor and will direct officers accordingly. Mayor Jacob Frey, who's a Democrat, signed the order on Friday, sending a strong message that the city does not consider substances like psilocybin to be deserving of criminalization. Wow.
Yeah. This comes about 2 months after the Minnesota Governor Tim Walz signed a bill that included provisions to create psychedelics task force meant to prepare the state for possible legalization. The local executive order, meanwhile, echoes language that numerous cities across the U.S. have adopted, deprioritizing enforcement of laws against epigenetic substances at a time when there's increased interest in their therapeutic potential for serious mental health conditions like depression and addiction.
Yeah. This is the first time, however, that a mayor has unilaterally enacted the reform. Regardless of the stigma attached, when you look at the science behind the benefits of entheogens, it all points in one direction, Fry said in a press release. Experts are telling us that these plants help people, and that's the business we should be in, helping people.
With the rise in deaths of despair in our city and in our society, the data is showing that these plants can help be a remedy. That's the message I hope this executive order sends elsewhere. The whereas section of the order, which was first reported by the New York Times, says that the psychedelic plants and fungi have been shown by scientific and clinical studies to be beneficial to the health and well-being of individuals and communities in addressing these conditions.
While the executive order covers a wide range of psychedelics, indole, amines, tritipamines, and phenethylamines, including but not limited to psilocybin mushrooms, ayahuasca tea, mescaline, and iboga. It specifically excludes peyote in order to respect and protect access to the sacred plant medicines of the Native American Church. The directive also acknowledges that various cities across the country have already taken this step, including Oakland, Detroit, Washington, D.C., Seattle, and San Francisco.
Fry's order makes it so the investigation and arrest of persons for planting, cultivating, purchasing, transporting, distributing, engaging in practices with, or possessing entheogenic plants or plant compounds, which are on the federal Schedule 1 list, shall be the lowest law priority or enforcement priority for the city of Minneapolis. What a difference in opinion. Federal government, Schedule 1, where they say there's no benefits to a plant or anything in Schedule 1 category. And the city makes it the lowest law enforcement priority because there is benefits.
Yeah, and we've seen that study after study. Even though they're limited, every single one points in the direction that these are beneficial drugs, especially for things like PTSD. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. Regardless of the law, city resources shall not knowingly be used in any investigation, detention, or arrest arising out of alleged violations of state and federal law for engaging in the above referenced activities, it says. The directive concludes by noting that it does not prohibit the exercise of prosecutorial discretion or legalize any unlawful activities related to entheogenic plants, nor does it authorize or enable or apply to enforcement or prosecution of any of the following activities: commercial sales or manufacturing of these plants and fungi, possessing or distributing these materials in schools, driving, operating, or being in physical control of a motor vehicle, or possessing a weapon while under the influence of these materials, or the commission of any public disturbance. I don't know about any public disturbance. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Yeah, they're probably just putting that in there just to be on the safe side, maybe.
Is that a protest, though? That could be considered a public disturbance,
They say that while some law enforcement officials elsewhere have balked at the local decriminalization policies, the chief of the Minneapolis Police Department said he backs the mayor's decision. He says, I recognize that many of our community members see benefits in using these natural substances for health or religious purposes. And with this executive order, Mayor Fry has directed the Minneapolis Police Department to join agencies nationwide and continue to de-emphasize law enforcement activities related to use of epigenetic plants, says Chief Brian O'Hare. He goes on to say, I stand with the mayor in support of this action and will ensure that the MPD continues to maintain the safety of all residents and community members.
Curtis Hanna, public safety and government relations specialist at Blunt Strategies, told Marijuana Moment that he worked with Fry on a local cannabis decriminalization measure that was enacted when the now mayor served on the city council, saying the new reform removes yet another brick from the wall of drug prohibition in Minneapolis.
People who use drugs in an effort to find happiness, he says. Really? It seems fitting in this directive to have been issued shortly after the 4th of July, a holiday in which Americans celebrate the signing of a document which declares the pursuit of happiness to be inalienable right, not a felony crime. I take this pursuit of happiness as being find happiness is to go out and laugh and giggle and stuff like that. But I can see how he has phrased that now.
Yeah. I kind of like that the mayor and the police chief are in agreement with it. You don't usually hear the police chief saying, yes, let's stop enforcing the law. You don't ever hear that, right?
No.
Jessica Nielsen, an assistant professor at the University of Minnesota and founding member of the Decri-Min Coalition, said that this action is an important first step to undo all the harms inflicted from the war on drugs, on people who use drugs. Yeah, the war on people who use drugs. That's what it was.
Right.
Which was created to target brown and black people. These natural medicines and their use by indigenous peoples predate any of these laws, she said. Individual liberty over one's health and consciousness is essential to a well community, as is the community healing that can occur with these ethnogens.
Council member Andrew Johnson added that deprioritization is a great step, and it's exciting to see Minneapolis among the leading cities calling for a common sense approach in light of all the data. And at the state level, the Psychedelics Task Force that's being formed under a new law signed by the governor will be responsible for advising lawmakers on the legal, medical, and policy issues associated with the legalization of psychedelic medicines in the state.
And the state's also gearing up for the implementation of cannabis legalization law that was signed in May.
There you go.
So it sounds like they're heading the right way. I really like that story.
Yeah, it does sound like they're heading the right way, and it's good to see the support for it as well. Okay. Find the story. This one here. This next story, it comes to us from High Times. And the headline on it says that there's a study. Cannabis users use less opioids when recovering from neck fusion surgery.
And the findings on the findings on neck fusion surgery, they come via researchers at the University of Connecticut School of Medicine. There's already a number of studies showing how cannabis can curb opioid use in relation to our myriad ailments and conditions. Now, a new study sheds light on a major neck surgery, similarly finding that cannabis consumers ultimately use fewer opioids in recovery than non-consumers. A team of researchers from the University of Connecticut School of Medicine conducted the study published by the North American Spine Society Journal.
Just another study, different condition, finding out that cannabis can help with the opioids. Wow. Research specifically investigates anterior cervical dyssymptomy and fusion. The procedure involves the removal of all or part of the damaged disc in the spine, effectively relieving spinal cord or nerve root pressure on the neck and elevating related pain, weakness, numbness, and tingling. The study introduction nods to the growing evidence to suggest that cannabis use may positively impact opioid consumption. It also states that the growing body of literature surrounding cannabis and its potential medical benefits, though it notes that there are only a handful that explore its potential as it pertains to orthopedics. But in the end, it is just another dot that's just another study that's saying opioids use is down when you use cannabis.
Yep. Researchers assessed the use of opioids following ACDF surgery, utilizing a respective case control design using a Pearl driver as they examined patients who underwent a single level of ACDF between January 2020 and October 2020. Patients were then placed in the study group, and if they had a previous diagnosis of cannabis use, dependence, or abuse, patients under the age of 18, or those who had filled an opioid prescription, excuse me, within 3 months of their procedure. Researchers formed a control group to match on age, gender, and Charleston comorbidity index, which predicts the 10-year mortality of patients with a range of relating diseases, and had no diagnosis of cannabis use.
Overall, fewer patients in the cannabis group filled their opioid prescriptions within 3 days post-operation. It's consistent with current literature on cannabis use and need for opioid medication. More than 7% of the patients in the control group filled their initial opioid prescription within 3 days of surgery, compared to 2.7% in the cannabis use group.
Wow.
There were no differences for patients who filled prescriptions at 30 and 60 days after the procedure, and no patients within the cannabis group filled their initial prescriptions 90 days after the procedure. So after 90 days, they weren't even
done with it.
Look at the numbers. Like 2.7% of the people who use cannabis. Yeah. Wow. In the discussion of the findings, authors also know that at 60 days, the control group needed higher doses of opioids than the cannabis group.
That's a big difference right there, too.
Yeah, and it doesn't say that they needed higher use of cannabis. It just needed more opioids.
Yeah, and I think if you can eliminate any use of opioids, it is helping. Definitely helps. Daily MME, which is the morphine milli equivalent, doses in the cannabis group were below 50 MME for prescriptions filled within 60 days post-operatively, whereas the control group was at 60 MME level at the same time period, the authors state. The 50 MME threshold is important, as studies have suggested that opioid doses above 50 MME per day are significantly associated with an increased risk of opioid-related death and/or hospitalization. This suggests that patients using cannabis may be at reduced risk of opioid dependence than non-users. About 3.1% of the control group filled additional opioid prescriptions compared to 1.8% of the cannabis group. When looking at we're close to twice the amount. Looking at the total number of patients, looking only at patients that filled an initial prescription, the cannabis group scored higher, nearly 34% of the cannabis group and 24% of the control group filling additional prescriptions, though authors said this was not a statistically significant difference.
Conclusion says, in summary, patients who were known to use cannabis filled fewer opioid prescriptions following ASDF procedures and were prescribed lower daily doses than the control group, suggesting that cannabis use may reduce opioid requirements in this population. However, there is a clear need for future studies to investigate the effect that cannabis may have a post-operative pain control. Meanwhile, there's been stories about how cannabis use before operations is bad, and here we're talking about it being good when you're done your surgery.
Yeah. It's nice. Every single story this day seems, after the first couple bad ones, we seem to have a bunch of good ones in a row.
Well, I am looking over there at the time on the screen. You see, we're down to less than 4 minutes. So we should, what do you say? We got a couple stories here, but I don't think we're going to get into them and get the closing on there. But just to give everybody to know, we were looking also as well as Curaleaf was looking at, here we go, I'll bring it up. Curaleaf was looking at being the next cannabis MSO to list the Toronto Stock Exchange. So while many are falling off that stock exchange, or in other stock exchanges being removed because they're going under the dollar, here we got a company that's joining the stock exchange.
Raise a little money.
Yes, exactly. And there was another one there on the alternative to bankruptcy for distressed cannabis businesses. You can check them out on our Facebook page if you want to see them. But other than that, Glenn, we are out of time.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, maybe it was that stumbling at the beginning of the show trying to get that video to work. But it was overall, it was a great weekend down there at the Indigenous Cannabis Cup. And I'm just tired. It was a lot of hours, right? And a lot of traveling back and forth. Had the option of staying, but going into it, the plans were different. And I was there for the weekend and had a great time while I was doing it. So,
sounds
all right, Glenn. Anything you want to say before we say goodbye?
Nope. Peace.
No, nothing else.
Have a great
All
day.
right, well, that's your report for July the 24th. July the 24th, 2022, here for Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. Catch your next broadcast this Thursday with Glenn and I. I'll be covering for Cindy. And other than that, thanks to our sponsors, the Legacy420.com, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, as well as LimestoneCityHydroponics.ca. Check them all out. And don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. See you all soon. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partners 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.